RCAP website. Well, welcome everyone to the RCAP grant training webinar. The Division of Aging is very excited to offer these grants to RCAP facilities to support your residents' well-being. Couple of introductions and housekeeping items. My name is Stephanie Lasky. I know several of you. I recognize your names. I am a project manager with the Division of Aging, and RCAP is one of the projects that I have been working on. And then, of course, you all know Latoya Howard, the RCAP program manager, and Lauren Perry, the director of provider relations, is also online to answer any questions that Latoya and I would need to elevate to her. Um, During today's webinar, all participant videos and microphones have been turned off. There is no way to turn them back on. So if you have a question, please utilize the chat function. Go ahead and pop any questions you might have in the chat, and we will get to those at the end of today's presentation. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be posted to the Division of Aging's website within a couple of days. I will also turn these slides into a PDF and post them to the website as well so that you have them as needed. Little bit of background information on how these grants came to be. The state recognizes that RCAP rates have not been raised recently. We've heard you loud and clear, both through informal feedback processes as well as through the survey that we contracted with HMA to conduct with all RCAP providers. New rates must go through the legislative and budget process in order to be approved. And because of the way Indiana's legislature works on a biennium, with budget happening every other year, this can be a very long and arduous process to get these new rates approved. We know that we revert some unused program funds each year back to the state budget. We just don't spend all of the dollars that were given in RCAP. So, based on all of that information, the state decided to issue grants to RCAP facilities. These grants will total about $1.3 million. And really, this is twofold. One, it helps to reduce those funds reverted. And two, and most importantly, it puts the funds directly into the hands of the providers. It really is challenging to lobby for increased rates when we're reverting funds back to state government. They'll say, why do you need more money when you're not spending the money that you have? So we really want to make sure that these funds get right back into your hands so that you can use them as you see fit for your residents and your staff. You should all have received a letter outlining all of the things that are allowable under these grants. That letter goes into much greater detail than I will go into today, but on a very high level, the allowable activities for these grants include RCAP facility maintenance or capital projects, direct service worker recruitment and retention, so things like bonuses, incentives, staff expansion, etc. Operational expenses. So we heard during that survey process that even helping with things like toilet paper and shampoo might be beneficial for your residents. You can also use the funds for resident appreciation. So things like field trip, upkeep of the facility vehicle, purchasing activities, purchasing games for a game room, anything like that would fall under these allowable activities. Again, I would refer you to the letter that you received from Latoya for a full list of the details within each of these four buckets, but these are kind of the four main categories of allowable activities that will apply to these grants. Some information on how we determined how much money every RCAP facility got. To determine the amount of money was really a balancing act between being an RCAP facility and the number of RCAP residents that your facility serves. So we sought to find the way to use up the most amount of funds possible while also balancing the needs of both the larger facilities as well as the smaller facilities. And what we settled on was a $12,000 per facility flat rate. So just for being an RCAP facility, every facility gets $12,000. In addition to that, every facility will get $2,500 per resident for the average number of residents served in that facility from July through August of 2023. And I should clarify here, that's the average number of RCAP residents served in that facility in July and August of 2023. So our example formulary here is a facility that serves 7 residents in July and 9 in August. That averages to 8 residents. 8 residents times $2,500 per resident is a $20,000 resident fee, plus that $12,000 facility rate gives you a grand total of $32,000. So the minimum that any facility should be receiving is $14,500, right? 12,000 for being a facility and then 2,500 for serving one resident. So everyone should have their exact amount that they are getting in their award in the letter from Latoya. If you have further questions about the funding formula, please feel free to reach out to us. We do want to note that these grants are reimbursement grants. So the facility must spend the money and then submit the receipts and the justification to the Division of Aging. Latoya is going to go through the billing process, the receipt submission, the contracting and claims process, all of that in just a minute. But I did want to highlight the reimbursement aspect of these grants. The money will be given to you then based upon the completion of that claims process. This money is for projects happening between January 1st, 2024 and June 30th, 2024. So your letters, I believe, were issued in December and should say the same thing, that these are for projects happening in this 6-month cycle. Some frequently asked questions that we got at our last grants webinar were really around capital improvement projects where the contracts are signed and the expenses are paid, but the physical work is not completed. That's fine if the physical work doesn't get completed until after June 30th, as long as all expenses that the RCAP grant is paying for are spent by June 30th. So ultimately, you would be paying your contractor on the front end and working a little bit at risk that they complete the job in a timely manner, but did want to highlight both the reimbursement aspect of these grants as well as this 6-month time frame. So I recognize that today is January the 16th. You can post date your grants back to anything that you spent as of January 1, but the grants cannot go back into calendar year of 23. Everything is going to be in this 6-month period. I am going to turn it over to Latoya now to talk about the contracting and claims process.
Okay. Hello to all of the RCAP providers who are in attendance. I do appreciate that you are here with this webinar so that you can get a better understanding of the funds that are a part of the grant. Now, in regards to the billing process, the contracts must be written and fully executed, meaning that all parties, signed by all parties. So, what that means is, as of right now, the grants are still being more or less kind of designed by the contracting department. So, once that happens, what they will do is send out the grant agreements to the providers, and that's going to be an electronic form in order for them to be signed. Just as it was with the RCAP contracts, they will send that information electronically so that you can sign it electronically. And once we receive that back, then after we have those back, then what will come out to the provider next is a packet. It's going to be a grant agreement packet. And within that packet, it will also have the instructions in regards to submitting claims in order to be able to be reimbursed for any dollars that you spent that are within the guidelines of the scope of work that is also going to be included in that grant agreement. The claims packet will be generated to you. Will be generated and emailed to you. And it will, again, include the instructions on how to submit your claims. You are responsible for filling out the claim forms and emailing them to claimsinfo@fssa.in.gov. Again, claims must be filled out according to the instructions of the claims info, and we will deny any claims and return if it is not in that correct form. And again, the form will be pretty much laid out how it should be done in the claim packets once you receive them. All full instructions will be done as well. And also, once you receive that grant agreement and you send that back, what we will also ask for the providers to do is to send us their spending plan. And that way we can have some idea of what you are wanting to spend your funds on. So we kind of know what, when we receive the receipts, or if it's something in regards to that you're going to do capital improvement, we know that any certain amount over $5,000 will require approval by our director first. Um, and it will normally take about 35 days for providers to receive payments on approved claims. Stephanie, next slide. Again, after the full execution of the RCAP grants agreement, providers will receive the claim packets with the instructions, submitting claims, and a copy of the claim form and the claiming workbook. And all this information will have to be submitted when you are submitting your claims. So the claims and the claiming workbook, and there will be instructions on how to put that information in there. And the claiming workbook is more or less to just identify things. Everything that you are actually submitting claims for. So you will submit the proof of billing, which is the receipts that will be as an attachment, and then the claim form and the claiming workbook. All of that will be included when you submit those via email to the FSSA claims address. Next slide, Stephanie. Okay, here is a copy of what that claim form will look like when you are going to submit the claims for reimbursement. All claims will be submitted electronically to that email address. We ask that you do not send confidential information via email. All claim forms will need to be in the PDF format. Forms completed by hand will need to be scanned to a PDF. So forms completed electronically should not be printed or rescanned. Other supporting documents can be submitted as attachments within that same email and can be PDF, text, or standard Microsoft Office formats. Next slide, Stephanie. And this is what you will put in regards to your subject line for your claims. So this is an example of how it should look when you are submitting your claims. Again, anything outside of this will be denied and sent back to the provider. For any denials, usually I will, well, what I've been instructed to do is that I will detail what the denial is for and how long you have to resubmit your claim. Next slide. So just to let you all know, me as the RCAP manager, I will receive the notifications via email that the claims are waiting for review. Providers will receive email notification of an approved or denied claim. And again, denied claims will indicate the reason for the denial, the date of the denial, instructions for resubmission, and the time frame for resubmission. So and any questions that you have in relations to that, once a claim is submitted, you are able to submit those questions. But again, um, for the time frame in regards to when the claims are submitted, that will come in the instructions for you for with the grant agreement. I'm sorry, the claims packet once the grant agreement has been signed. Okay, next slide. Again, you will be able to pose any of your questions that you have regarding the claims or submission of the claims to me at my email address. But again, all claims will still go to that FSSA claims email address. Questions you can send, of course, directly to me.
Thank you, Latoya.
Mhm.
We will open it up for any questions that the group may have. Again, your cameras and microphones are off, but please feel free to chat in any questions you may have. We'll give it just a couple minutes for folks to chat in and see if there's anything people are wondering about. Right, well, seeing none, I trust you all know how to get a hold of Latoya if you do think of questions after this has passed. I will send the recording of this webinar as well as a PDF of the slides to our web communications team. It will be posted on the RCAP page of the Division of Aging's website, and Latoya will send you all a link to it when it's posted so you can review it and refresh your memory as needed. But thank you all for joining us and stay warm and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.